morning. I'm Melissa Rogers.
And I'm Mark Bresnahan, and we are the co-chairs for this year's walk. We'd like to thank our True North, Michelle Lee, right over there. She is the Associate Area Director for AFSP, American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and she got all of us together, Committee of 9, and showed us the way on how to put a successful walk together today, so we really appreciate that.
We really need to thank the committee. It's been a fun journey, a touching journey. We couldn't do it without a lot of people. Can the committee members raise their hand? They're probably working right now, but can they raise their hand? Anyone? We also have a lot of volunteers today. You can see them in the red and white shirts, but please, let's give them a round of applause. Thanks to everybody for helping us bring out of the darkness, bring mental health and death by suicide out of the darkness today.
Awesome, and most of all, we would like to thank all of you, about 600-700 people, and all together we're going to beat last year's record of about 615, all in, because we have virtual walkers who couldn't be with us today. We're going to be about 800 all together, so thank you all to you. And what you're joining is, it's a movement. It's a movement of out of the darkness around the mental illness and suicide. And it started in 2004, and now there are walks all around the country and around the world. And so you help us address the mental illness, and we're going to impact and eliminate the stigma associated with mental illness. And then we're also going to just help people, and we're going to save lives. So thanks, I really appreciate that. And what we do with the money raised today is it goes back into the community. So if any of you are interested in bringing one of the programs that the AFSP puts on, you can contact Michelle, and she'd be happy to work together with you on that. Our daughter Sarah was 19 on April 6, 2017, when she succumbed to a mental illness that we didn't realize she had. She left us a note, and on average, only 30% of people that die by suicide do leave a note. And she mentioned that she knew counseling and help was available, but she chose not to get it. One thing she mentioned was she didn't want people to look at her differently for the rest of her life because of her mental illness. This seems to me to be evidence of a stigma towards mental illness. So please give me a show of hands of who has been or is ready to help eliminate the stigma associated with mental illness. Thank you. That is awesome. We can do this one conversation at a time with family, friends, coworkers, members of your community, or anyone who crosses your path, physically or digitally. I'll leave you with the mission of Sarah's Village: be kind and help others.
I lost my brother 11 years ago when he was 30. It was the worst day of my life, and I know that many of you can understand that. He didn't leave a note, and so we'll never really know what was going through his head, but it's unfortunate that he thought this was the only way out. The way that I've decided to make sense of that is to volunteer, and I really thank this organization and all of you for the support that it gives me. A couple of just important points about what AFSP is able to accomplish thanks to all of you. Advocacy is one of the 4 core strategies of the organization. That just means working at the national and state level to pass policies supporting mental health and prevention efforts. One of the other things that the organization works on is survivor support. Thankfully, that is support for all of us who've lost somebody, and it ensures that we're connected to this community and beyond. The third important piece is prevention education. All of the AFSP programs that are offered are free of charge and focus on creating a culture that is smart about mental health. So we encourage everybody to take advantage of those programs in your homes, your communities, your schools, your offices. And the last piece is research. Life-saving research is dedicated to finding ways to prevent suicide and learn more about mental health conditions. So to help honor all of those that we've lost, we want to welcome our participants in the bead ceremony.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Donald Bresnahan. I'm here with my brother Walt. I can tell you what an honor it is to be here with all of you as we go through this bead ceremony. To my left is my wife Rose. She's going to go ahead and place the beads symbolizing different things on each one of our participants. Each of us has our own story and our own reasons for being here. As we gather here today, we remember those reasons, and we share a symbol to keep them in our sight and in our hearts. Our honor beads pay tribute to a loved one lost, personal struggle, or victory. They come in many colors representing the diversity of our community's connections to this cause. It is my honor to introduce to you some of the extraordinary people who are part of this community. First, Rose is going to take the purple beads, and she is going to present it to Denise, who wears the purple bead symbolizing the loss of her cousin's beloved son, Alec. Alec was just 16 years old when he took his own life less than 1 year ago. Alec was very active and enjoyed skateboarding, downhill skiing, nature, and any situation where he could do stunts and flips in the air. He would never pass up a chance to show off his acrobatic skills and awe his audience. Alex unfortunately lost his battle, but would never want to see anyone else go through what he did. His family is honoring him by never letting Alex's story end.
Hello, my name is Walt Bresnahan. I'm here talking now about Kendra, who lost Kyle to suicide. Wearing orange beads to symbolize the loss of a sibling is Kendra. 11 years ago, on September 16th, 2017, Kendra lost her brother Kyle to suicide. Kyle was a devout Christian who always found ways to spread the word of Christ. Kyle graduated cum laude from Gordon College with a BS in sociology, double minoring in history and German. He was a genius behind the computer and could master anything you put in front of him. Kyle was a brilliant man who loved very deeply, but he also struggled. Kendra and her family are here today to walk in Kyle's memory and to raise awareness of the signs of mental illness and to bring hope to those who may be suffering.
Our next participant is Jenny. Jenny wears silver beads to represent the loss of a first responder or military member. Jenny lost her sister to suicide 23 years ago while she was serving as an airman in the United States Air Force. Because of this, Jenny works tirelessly to support the Pound 22 Kill Group of New England, which represents the 22 veterans we lose to suicide a day. 22 veterans we lose to suicide a day. Jenny also serves as chair for the Plymouth County Suicide Prevention Coalition and executive board member for the Massachusetts Coalition for Suicide Prevention. This is Jenny's 6th Out of the Darkness walk, and she joined after the tragic loss of her niece, Allie, who was only 15. Wearing the red beads to represent the loss of a partner or spouse is Cheryl.
In November of 2016, Cheryl lost her husband, Todd, to suicide. Todd was 44 years old. He was a successful business owner, lover of all things nature, music, movies, and technology. He was on many boards and active in his community. He was a dedicated husband, father, brother, son, and friend. Todd was your typical guy living in what most would consider a great life. Todd is proof that suicide does not discriminate, and he's one of the reasons we are all here today, to raise awareness and funds for research and support. Cheryl picked the Eastern Walk because Borderland was a place Todd liked to come and play frisbee golf with his friends or be alone to relax and get away. It seemed most appropriate that his friends and family walk in his memory in a place he loved to be. Cheryl hopes to continue raising awareness in his community and to fight the fight to stop the stigma. Cheryl is honored to be here today to represent all of the surviving spouses.
Wearing gold beads to symbolize the loss of a parent is Gavin, Cheryl's son. When Gavin was 9 years old, he lost his dad, Todd, by suicide. Todd was a loving father to Gavin and his brother Parker, who is also here today. Todd always tried to be the very best dad he could be. Todd coached his boys in countless soccer and baseball teams and was a hands-on, loving father. Gavin and his brother feel lucky to be surrounded by such an amazing, supportive community. They are honored to help raise awareness about suicide and mental health issues. Gavin says, "The loss was very hard, but this walk and the money we raise is going to help make it easier for people like us so that they won't lose anybody." There's no doubt Todd is smiling down on the boys today for walking in his memory.
Next, very close to my heart, is my brother Mark, sister-in-law Cynthia. Cynthia and Mark wear the white beads symbolizing the loss of a child. On April 6, 2017, their 19-year-old daughter, Sarah, was a freshman at UMass Amherst when she died by suicide. She was a smart, young lady with talents when she succumbed to a mental illness that she hid from her parents, family, and many friends. In Sarah's honor, they are working to eliminate the stigma associated with mental illness. It is their hope that funds raised from AFSP will help others battling depression to seek alternate solutions so that their families will not experience the same heartbreak.
Emily wears green beads. Emily's right next here to Rose. And Emily is incredibly courageous, and she wears the green beads to symbolize a personal struggle. For several years, Emily has been fighting clinical depression, suicidal thoughts, anxiety, and body image disorder with great support and love from her family and friends and all of you out here. She is making tremendous progress, and she is here to say that a semicolon represents a sentence the author could have ended but chose not to. She is the author of her story. Her story, gladly, isn't over yet.
Lynette wears teal beads, which represent support of a loved one who struggles. Lynette is here today to support her daughter, Emily, who struggled with depression for many years, to let her know that she is incredibly proud of her. Lynette reminds Emily that she will always be her biggest cheerleader and that she's always here to listen.
AFSP board member and 2015 Boston Marathon team member, Mike Ruggiero, wears blue beads, which represents support of the cause. Mike first got involved after he lost his mom to suicide in 2002. Mike wants to share his story and his feelings, as well as his passion to be part of something special and help others. He believes everyone should have a chance, and at that darkest hour, there is still hope and opportunity to make a difference. Mike and all of us stand together today as a very visible example of how our community can and should unite to talk, listen, and care. These beads, these courageous people, they represent our dedication, our commitment, and our strength as a community. We are united in our goal and determined to bring suicide prevention out of the darkness and save lives.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you. So now we are ready to begin the walk and spend some time together, reflect and healing, and walk around the park. The walk is going to be led this year by Team Todd. So you guys can kind of get together. I think you have a banner. And they're going to lead us over towards the mansion, and then we're going to bang a left around the road, and we're just going to hang out for the next 45 to 60 minutes and walk around this beautiful Borderland State Park and remember those who we love. So thank you all very much.
Well, my wife committed suicide in June of 2017, and I came here last year for the walk. And so this year I came back to raise more money. And this year I have a team. We got over 2 dozen people. We do the Fenway Park thing, sit in the park, and we do as much as we can to support suicide and, try to help people out, suicide prevention, try to help people out.
What would you want people to know most?
Trish was a loving person. She raised 2 boys. She had a grandson on the way. She had a granddaughter. She was friends with everybody. The day she died, we had a wonderful day together. We had just come back from Greece from her youngest son got married in Santorini. And
Ladies
for all
and
general
gentlemen,
purposes,
if
everything
you
was good in life.
registered online, you still need to check in over here at the registration area. So even if you registered
She
online,
didn't leave a
please
note.
go over and check in
Didn't
at the
say
registration
anything.
area. Thank you.
Died. So I try to turn things around and do as much as I can to prevent someone else from having to go through what me and my family had to go through.
We just moved here from Texas. We were involved in the Austin area when we lived there. Now we live here. We lost my little brother a couple of years ago. He was going to be 20 at the time, so he'd be 22 next year. So we just decided to get involved somehow, and this was the good opportunity with my entire family in Texas. So now that we live here, it's just kind of carrying on the torch to keep the movement going from the momentum we had in Texas, and so we just continued it here. So it's nice to have a community with others just like us who have had their own personal struggles or their own family with their personal struggles that just get together and do something with each other as a community.
What's it like to see this same kind of connection over on this side of the country?
It's great. We were just talking about how there's several of these walks in the area.
It means a lot that you don't have to lose this community.
Yeah, it's nice to see that the movement is nationwide and it's not just isolated in certain big hubs like in Austin or Boston or New York, whatever it may be. So it's good to see a big turnout because it's nationwide. Yeah, it's not just a regional thing. So it's good to see.
Anything else you'd like to say?
No, we're excited to be here, and we really hope that it continues to make a big difference.
Yeah.
We're here because of my son Danny, who 17 years ago took his life. So that's why we're here.
We've been walking since 2004 in the Out of the Darkness community walks as well as the overnight walks, and we just hope to, cause a positive ripple in the world of suicide prevention, in the hopes that this sadness doesn't happen to any other family.
I think the main thing is the stigma, depression, and all sorts of mental illnesses were in such a stigma. I think Danny would still be here. It's hard to obviously let that out without being ashamed of it, like it's a weakness, and it's not. It's a disease like any other disease. Should be treated that way, and people have nothing to be ashamed about. What we've gone through the past 17 years now is it's really tough. There's no closure. There's no forgetting. It's every day, and if this can help some people that are both suffering and people like us that are left in the aftermath of it, which is, I think it's almost worse for us because we're still here trying to deal with it all. But we're doing it. We'll continue to do it, and if this can just help one person or one family or in any aspect of this whole scenario, then that's good.
There is hope. Ask for help. You're loved.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Matt Costello, and the reason why we're here is my daughter Megan last summer attempted to take her life, and she'd been suffering from depression and was doing it in a silent fashion. And despite a lot of efforts on our part, we weren't aware just how bad the situation was. And thankfully, she's still with us. She made it. We almost lost her, and it's really put everything into perspective and about how important family is and how we all need to be there for each other, and that depression is a disease, it's a sickness, it's an illness that can be treated, but there's nothing to be embarrassed about, there's nothing to hide. If you're struggling, if you have any issues whatsoever, please talk to your parents, please talk to a friend, understand that you can get help. For us, being here at the walk is to celebrate the fact that we still have our daughter, which is a miracle, and just to create the awareness that so many people are suffering, but there's help, and it's just a matter of making sure that you raise your hand to get that help. And hopefully by spreading this awareness, if we can just keep one child, obviously it'd be wonderful if it's more than one child, but just one kid from taking that ultimate step, if we can prevent that from happening, it's all worth it. So here's to Megan Costello. So glad you're here. Love you.
I got first involved with AFSP when my mom searched for support after I lost my dad to suicide almost 14 years ago when I was 14. And so she found an Out of the Darkness walk. So we walked, I think it was 2 years after he had passed away, and in our first Out of the Darkness walk, and I've been involved ever since. So I got involved obviously as a survivor, and then I was involved in other capacities. I helped co-chair the Boston Walk a few years ago, and then I ran the Boston Marathon for Team AFSP 3 years ago, and then a year and a half ago is when I was hired to work for the organization. So I've been involved in a number of different ways, and now it's just as a support as a staff, and I kind of lead different committees and things like that on events to support others who have lost someone to suicide. So our Out of the Darkness walks are our largest fundraisers for the organization nationwide. So a lot of survivors, attempt survivors, and those who support the cause get involved with the walks. However, we do have other fundraising events. We have our annual A Sip in the Park event at Fenway every year. We have other capacities to get involved, which is Advocacy Day at our State House to meet with legislators to advocate for more funding for mental health and suicide prevention initiatives. We also have tons of different ways to get involved, and that it doesn't have to be a walker or a fundraiser, and that's becoming a field advocate. That's also joining some of our walk committees. It's also bringing communities and program education to your community and letting us provide that support.
What do you think of the turnout today?
I think it was fantastic. Last year we had a little over 600 walk with us, and this year I think probably after we do the numbers, it's probably over 700, maybe closer to 800. So I think it was a great turnout, beautiful day, and I love seeing all the teams and everyone out here supporting.
Is there anything you'd want to say about the stigma mental health wellness have today?
Yeah, so I think being here certainly raises awareness, lets us use our voice, and let people know that we care and that we're here and that there's a support network available. I feel like this is something that's very unique. I feel like there's not a lot of opportunities for us to use our voice like this, and I think continuing to build the involvement and getting people involved in walking or volunteering is another great way to keep reducing the stigma and getting rid of that connotation of suicide and mental health as an issue.
Is there anything you'd want to say to people who are struggling but are afraid of letting people know?
I think I would say reach out, talk to somebody. Not everyone can solve the issue, but we can certainly be there for one another and listen to each other and provide support that, as if we would get support for any other illness. I think, we reach out and we are concerned about people who have heart disease and cancer, and I think the same is true, needs to be true for mental illness. We need to reach out and be willing to have that conversation, and you don't have to solve it, but you need to say, I will be here for you. I'll sit with you and listen, and we'll struggle our way through it. If people are interested in getting involved, they can go to afsp.org/Boston. And that will lead you to our events, our volunteer opportunities, more information, and to be able to bring programs to your community.